lot of the stuff we're going to be discussing in this course is not practicable because it's principle based. So it's like foundational aspects. You don't really put it into practice, but it leads you to hadith, and then when you read the hadith, put it into practice. So Imam Bishr al-Hafi, he was a great pious person, right? His name is Bishr, and his title, laqab, they call him Hafi. Hafi means either you have nothing covering your head or nothing covering your feet. So he wouldn't wear shoes. He was known as he wouldn't wear shoes, so they call him Bishr al-Hafi. And some people say that he was a wali of Allah. When he would walk, the rocks would move out of his way. Like he had a karama, as a miracle. Sometimes the rocks would move out of his way when he would walk. So he would address the muhaddithin. He said, "O people of hadith, give the zakat on hadith. Give zakat on hadith." So then they're like, well, what is the zakat of hadith? He says, for every 200 hadith, put 5 into practice. And zakat is, for 200 dirhams, you have to give 5. Right? That's the ratio, 2.5%. So practice on 2.5% of your knowledge. This is really good. Usually people say 100%. That's quite hard. But if you think about it, how much are we actually putting into practice? Maybe not even that much. So we're not given the zakat of our knowledge. Who doesn't know that you have to pray tahajjud? Lift your hand. Everyone knows. Who doesn't know you have to make dua? Who doesn't know you should read Quran? Who doesn't know you should do zikr? Everyone knows. So 2.5% of that much, inshallah. Okay, Imam Waqir, he was the teacher of Imam Shafi'i. He says, if you intend memorizing hadith, then practice on it, because that's going to help you a lot with the memorization. And these are the Arabic translation of the words. Al-ijlal wa tawqir. Ijlal means like you hold someone to a high degree, like you find them to be someone great. And tawqir is to respect, right? To respect. And generally these words are used for respecting elders. So Imam Nawawi rahimahullah, he says, the student of hadith is highly encouraged to revere their shaykh and those who they hear hadith from. This is due to respect for knowledge. So when you respect your teacher, it's not necessarily that person you're respecting. You are respecting the person, but you're respecting that person because of what they hold, because they are bearers of something. Because they have Quran and Hadith, that is why you respect them. So in reality, you're respecting Quran and Hadith. It's just contained within this person. That's what he's saying. Through this respect, knowledge is opened up for a person. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will make it easy for us to study and learn if we respect our teachers. A student should believe in the high status of their shaykh and prefer them over others, as well as seek their pleasure. So we should always, to our teachers, go to them and be nice to them, think well of them, prefer them, and think in your heart. It's an issue of the heart, right? It's not necessarily an issue with the physical body. So if someone comes like, Shaykh, how are you? And then behind the shaykh's back, or in their heart, they think, this guy's useless. That's not real respect. Rather, if a person doesn't even interact with their teacher at all, other than sitting in the class, but in their heart they hold them to a high degree, that's actual respect. Right? So it's not, this fake stuff. It's all about the inward aspect of the heart. And he says, this is the greatest method of benefiting from your teachers. And other people also say, our Shaykh al-Qira'ah, or Qari Sahib, he used to tell us that in the beginning of Qira'at, before we started reciting to him, he said that it is necessary, like obligatory, for the student to think good of their teacher and to think that they're qualified. And he even told us, and he's like the greatest Shaykh in Qira'ah in that entire country. There's no one on his level in that country. There was his cousin, he passed away, rahimahullah. But after that, everyone agrees that he's the most senior in Qira'at. So he told us before we started, he said that if you feel I'm lacking, then this is your chance, you can go, or you can study with me, out of his humility. So we need to understand, and if we're going to attend a class, have respect and believe that your teacher has something to impart. Otherwise, we close our capability of gaining knowledge from that person. Respect. Then humility. Right? It's necessary to be humble. Ibrahim al-Nakha'i was a great faqih in Kufa. Kufa is like in Iraq, and he was a predecessor of the Hanafi madhab. Ibrahim Nakha'i He was among those who took from Ibn Mas'ud, I believe, or maybe one generation after. So it's like there's a lineage. The Hanafi madhab stems from Ibn Mas'ud, radiyallahu anhu. So he's in that lineage, I should say. Imam Abu Hanifa would take some specific masail are exactly from Ibrahim al-Nakhai. So he's like the teacher of Abu Hanifa. So he would say, I've spoken about Islam, and if I had a way to avoid it, I would have avoided it. I would not have spoken regarding deen. But the era in which I am the faqih of Kufa is an evil era. He's saying that people are coming to me and calling me the faqih of Kufa. Kufa is a big city, huge city. And he said, this is an evil era. And it's so sad that someone like me is considered knowledgeable. This is humility. Of course, he's a mujtahid. But he's saying that if people are thinking that I have knowledge, I don't know what happened. Because he's thinking about the people before him. But if he was alive in this time, there would be no one in this dunya who has that much knowledge. It's like Abu Hanifa's predecessor. Sufyan al-Thawri, rahimahullah, he said when many students of hadith came to him seeking his knowledge, he says, Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. He saw many people come and study. So usually he would get up. If there's too many students, he would get up and leave. And one day, like he was teaching and he saw so many students come and he was like, Inna lillahi, what happened? And he says, I fear that Allah has caused this ummah to fall to ruins because someone like me is needed. Sufyan al-Thawri, he's also a mujtahid. He says, if I'm needed, like if people come to me for knowledge, maybe Allah has destroyed the ummah. I don't know. They're not saying this out of like, it's cool, let me seem humble. They're saying this because they actually feel that way. So it's actually a good sifa, a good quality to have humility. Now this is one you don't really hear about often. Rihla. Rihla is travel. So Imam Nawawi rahimahullah, he says, when a person begins treading the path of knowledge, they should be courageous and value their time. They should begin acquiring hadith from the sheikh with the most valuable chains in that era, in their locality, who has the best sheikh in your area, get knowledge from him. And the sheikh who has most knowledge, get knowledge from that person. And who is most famous and most pious. Back then, fame was synonymous to being a good sheikh. Right? Nowadays, not necessarily. And he says, as well as one with other great qualities. Meaning, seek a person in your locality that you feel he has knowledge, he has good sifat and good akhlaq and stuff like that. Find the best one. If there's like 10 different people. And alhamdulillah, now there's slowly being a lot more teachers and stuff like that. So unfortunately, you came to one of the lower majalis. The other majalis that are better shuyukh. But alhamdulillah, for me. So he says, then you finish those scholars. Like, not finish them literally, but you finish studying with them. He says, when the student has completed listening to the most widely known narrations in a city, he should travel for his pursuit. So you exhaust the knowledge in your area, and then you go elsewhere. So this was the tradition of the hadith scholars. They wouldn't just start traveling. We've heard of Imam Bukhari's travels, Imam Muslim, Imam Tirmidhi. We'll talk about them inshallah. There's some books with maps that show the entire traveling journey of these people. We'll look at that. Imam Baqi bin Makhlad is this famous Spanish scholar. He wanted to study under Imam Ahmad really badly. Imam Ahmad, he lives in Iraq, Baghdad. So where is Iraq and where is Spain? Different continents. So he's from Europe. He travels across North Africa, past Egypt, and he travels across Hijaz, which is the Saudi Arabia, Persia, and he goes to Persia. And Sheikh Abdul Fattah, he was a great scholar, passed away in the 90s. He says that it's probably one of the longest known treks and travels among the scholars of hadith, or in history. Other than like Ibn Battuta. Ibn Battuta went everywhere, like China and stuff like that. And then the amazing thing is he did it twice, Baqi bin Makhlad. And both times he did it on foot. He didn't ride an animal. Walked from Spain, he probably like got on a boat to, cross Gibraltar. Then North Africa, then past the Arabia, and he went to Persia on foot. So he exhausted the knowledge that he had. His collection of hadith is lost. We don't have it anymore. Musnad Baqi bin Makhlad. Scholars say it was the largest book of hadith. The largest book that we had was his book, and you can find some people like maybe a few hundred years ago, they used to quote from it. more, like 500-600 years ago, but we don't have it anymore. These things, they're manuscripts and they get lost sometimes. So we don't have every book of hadith anymore. That doesn't mean the hadith are lost. It means that book is lost. There's many books that are lost. Our teachers also used to tell us that sometimes these researchers, they find manuscripts. That's a whole other conversation. We're not going to talk about that really. How you get books in today's time. You think Sahih al-Bukhari, you just purchase it back then? You can't go to the store. It wasn't like that. It was written, handwritten. So scholars, they take these handwritten manuscripts. You still have these ancient libraries that have them, and then they publish them. So some of our teachers said that you guys can read and purchase books that we wish we could read in the past. So sometimes books come back. Anyway, traveling for the sake of knowledge. So if you have knowledge in your area, then don't travel. Exhaust it, then travel. But if you're not getting adequate knowledge, then you can travel. Or if there's no knowledge in your area, then travel. When we were young, there's nothing here. 10, 15 years ago, there's nothing here. We couldn't really learn, so we had to go to another place.